Hello again, YouTube. On the last episode, we started a new series on live streaming tips. And on this episode, we're going to talk about how to rig a live streaming setup. Stay tuned. Hello, YouTube, and welcome to the Sound Guy Chronicles, where our slogan is, if you're going to run sound, you've got to make it count. Please like, comment, subscribe, and hit that bell for notifications. We're talking about a multi-camera production. In the last episode, we lightly touched on how to get from a DSLR or a camcorder to a capture card, and then from the capture card to the computer. The process is very similar in a multi-camera setup, but instead of using a normal capture card, you're going to be using a video switcher. And since we focus on budget ministries, I would like to recommend either the A10 Mini or the Feel World Live Pro L1, which we have right here. As for a recommendation on cheap cameras, I would like to recommend the Canon Vixia R800. That is what we use for our side cameras. You can use it for a main camera as well. We were looking for a budget solution. Our philosophy was to spend a lot of money on the computer. It's a little bit overkill for right now, but our philosophy was that going forward, we can update various parts of our setup, but we wanted to build with a strong computer first. So that's what I recommend. It's not needed. You don't need to have a computer like this. As long as the computer has 8 gigabytes of RAM, you should be good. But as for the cameras, I would like to recommend a Canon Vixia R800. It is about $250 wherever they're sold. You should be able to find one on Amazon. But yeah, I recommend the Canon Vixia R800. For that camera, you're going to need a mini HDMI, not micro, there's a difference, a mini HDMI to HDMI cable. I have one right here. You can see it. It's like this, but it's just smaller. It's a mini HDMI. Micro is even smaller than this. You don't want it unless the camera you're using needs it. So do your research on the camera that you're using and then buy the adapter or the cable accordingly. Some cameras like the Sony AX53, you have to do an additional step where you have to put the camera in picture mode. But that is not necessary on the Canon Vixia series. One thing to remember is that you need a camera with clean HDMI. And clean HDMI means there's nothing on the camera, or the image that is reproduced in the video switcher is clean. I will say that most camcorders have clean HDMI, but when you're buying a DSLR, you want to make sure you know what you're buying before you buy it. After you connect the camera to the video switcher in the back, wherever it is in the input, the next step is to connect your video switcher to your computer of choice. Make sure if you're buying a camera with HDMI, make sure the switcher you have correlates with that. When I say that, I mean, if your cameras use HDMI, make sure your video switcher uses HDMI. And if it uses SDI, then use SDI. If you're going over 300 feet, you're going to want to use SDI cabling because it is just a stronger connection. And if your camera uses HDMI, you can use a HDMI to SDI converter to go that long length on both ends of the circuit. Next, you want to set up a monitor feed on your mixer and send it to one of your cameras. Then on the switcher, you want to select the audio to come exclusively from that camera that you put the audio in. There are many ways to route audio, but for beginners, I would like you to route the audio to one of the cameras. That way, you don't deal with some of the audio syncing issues that result. In routing your audio, you want to use an XLR cable. You then want to use an XLR to 3.5 millimeter adapter. This adapter will go into the Canon Vixia R800. Audio is arguably the most important part of your stream. So you want to make sure you reach out to your sound guy at your local assembly and have them set the levels accordingly. Next, we want to select an encoder. And because we're focusing on being truly budget friendly, you want to select a free encoder like OBS. OBS stands for Open Broadcaster Software. It is free and open source. Check out the link above for more on that. In order to stream, you want to find your stream key. On Facebook, it is the Publishing Tools tab. And on YouTube, it can be found on the tab that says YouTube Studio. Your stream key is what allows you to actually stream. You do not want to share this stream with anybody because that will allow them to stream to your channel. As for internet, you want to make sure you have an upload, not download, but an upload speed of 15 megabits per second at the very minimum. As my good friend once said, you don't want to have one point of failure. So I encourage you to follow all of these steps. Thanks again for watching, and we'll see you on the next episode of the Sound Guy Chronicles.